Hi everyone, so welcome to the Risen Wolf Pack. So in this video, we are going to be exploring standards-based grading and how to access Skyward. So you might be wondering what standards-based grading is, and this is going to be the grading system that we use here at RISDEN. It's a little bit different than the traditional kind of grading method, probably most visibly in the fact that it uses a 1 through 4 scale instead of the traditional A through F. And the reason for this is that we feel that this system helps us see and reflect students' abilities in different skills and their achievement levels in those skills, and allows us as teachers to try to provide feedback and help them kind of achieve higher levels. So your students' grades are going to be based on academics, effort, and behavior. And something that kind of makes this grading system a little bit different as well is that behavior and effort grades are placed separately from academic grades. So what a student gets on a project or a test is not reflected in the effort or behavior associated with it. Another way to kind of think about standards-based grading is through how to ride a bike. So when you first start learning how to ride a bike, we might be using a tricycle. We are starting to learn how the different mechanics of a bike works, the different motions we need to have our feet and hands and everything in. Once you kind of get used to that, we can move up to training wheels, which is our level 2. So once we get to those training wheels, we are getting a little bit more comfortable with the practice, but we're not quite at a full riding by our bike. But once we get to that, we will be at a 3. And if you notice here, our 3 is our target. So a 3 is going to be seen as where we want all of our students to be. So you've achieved that skill, you've shown us that you know how to do it. But students can go beyond this, and that's where they get to that 4. So in our bike analogy, so not only do you know how to ride the bike, you're doing tricks. You are doing things that are going beyond what is expected. So we want all students to get to at least that 3, and we like to encourage students to try to get to that 4. So overall, it is kind of a big process. And just like with riding a bike, it's not going to be perfect first. So in the early days of trying a new skill, trying a new standard, your students' grades may be lower than what you're expecting, and that's okay. It's normal for them to be low because we are practicing, we're trying to get to that 3, trying to get to achieving that skill. So as long as students are improving over time, that's kind of where they need to be. So why are we using standards-based grading? The reason for that is this gives us an opportunity to provide specific feedback for the different skills and really kind of helps students see where they're at more so than just like having A, B, C or other kind of letter grades. Something that's kind of beneficial to students for this is that it actually provides less homework for students. So with traditional grading systems, homework is usually added into the whole grade. Whereas with standards-based grading, homework is kind of treated as practice. So your student really wants to kind of practice for that project or for that big test. And the homework is there to kind of help them with that. The homework isn't going to be the primary grades for your students' classes. The homework is practice for bigger projects and tests that count towards the final grades. Another way to kind of visualize this is through this chart. So students might learn a new skill at first, and they're going to practice it with teachers' support and feedback. They make mistakes, and we were kind of analyze those mistakes together, provide feedback. We were kind of have some kind of project or quiz to kind of see what they know, what they can kind of improve on. And the process kind of repeats until they've mastered that skill. And once they've mastered that skill, they can try to get to that 4 and show us that they can do something beyond just knowing what that skill is and being able to practice it. When you actually kind of look at the grade book though, we have 2 examples here for what it might look like. So if we're looking at John here, he got a 1 on his first quiz, a 2 on his second quiz, a 3 on his project, and then a 2 on his final project. So what this is kind of showing us as teachers is that John is improving over time, which is really great. That's what we want to see. However, when it came to the final project, he still needed some extra help. He was still kind of struggling a little bit. So at the end of the trimester on this one particular skill, he would have gotten a 2. Some teachers will do different decimal points, so likely John would probably be at like a 2.5. Jane, on the other hand, is in a kind of a different situation. She started out with a 2 on her first quiz, but she actually missed the second one, and we don't have data to show what she would have got. But on her project and on her final project, she got 3s and 4s. So what that kind of shows us as teachers is that even though she missed that second quiz, she figured out how to do that skill. She figured out how to achieve mastery and went beyond expectations. So she overall would have gotten a 4 on this. So when it comes to standards-based grading, we're really kind of looking at the end. What has your student been able to show us that shows us what they've mastered? So this next part, we're going to be looking at how academic grades, behavior grades, and effort grades are kind of shown. So academic grades are what we've been kind of going over. This is how we assess the different skills of the different standards that your student is learning. For the effort, though, different teachers might have different expectations for effort, but generally what this is going to be is your student coming to class prepared? Do they have materials that they need? Do they have, if there is like homework or other assignments, are they having those in? Are they following classroom routines, and are they completing everything that needs to be completed? Citizenship grade is kind of that behavior grade. So is your student treating others respectfully? Are they actively listening? Are they respecting property? And are they kind of valuing everyone's time in the classroom? So these 3 grades will make up the grades that go into Skyward that you will have access to. So this last part is going to be exploring how to access Skyward. So Skyward is a system that is probably new to many of you. It's new to 6th graders. It will be new to you unless you've already had a student who is older, has already kind of gone through Risden or one of the other middle schools. It's important for students and parents to look at these grades, not just to kind of see what they are, but to kind of see if there's any concerns or questions that teachers can address. We do still send report cards home, so it's important for parents to know what those grades are before the report cards get sent home. So to actually access Skyward, you will go to the Renton School District website, and when you pull it up, there is going to be kind of a couple menus, and the one you're going to want to press on is Students and Families in this yellow oval right here. Once you click on that, it's going to bring up a new set of menus, and if you scroll down a little bit, there's going to be one that is called My Grades, and it has family access. You're going to click on that. And once you click on it, it's going to bring up a login ID and password. Your student will be given this login ID and password at the beginning of the school year. So that way everyone will be able to access this. Once you actually sign in though, what it might kind of look like is something like this. So on the left side here, we have the different categories for the skills. On the right side, we have different trimesters, and we have the different kind of score points put in. So if we're to look at one of these specifically, say science and engineering skills, you would click on that, and it's actually going to open up the different projects, assignments, homework, tests that are actually attached to it. And from there, you can actually see the specific scores that students have gotten on those different assignments and projects and tests. So that way you can really kind of look and see where do they really do well at, what kind of things can they improve on. So normally this would be kind of given in person, and I would give time for final questions. But since we are doing this remotely, if you have any final questions about Skyward or standards-based grading, please feel free to reach out to teachers, to administrators, or to other staff. All right, so thank you for watching this video, and welcome to the Risden family.